Hello and welcome to Diving Deeply into Your Story. Tonight's webinar is to launch a series of courses that explore the seasonal rhythms of your writing life and the quests that emerge from that life. A little bit of introduction. I'm Jan Fortune and I run Becoming a Different Story. I'm passionate about writing. It's the thing I love to do most in the world, apart from being with my amazing family. And I love helping other writers to focus on their commitment to writing. It can be really hard to keep going, no matter how much we care about our writing. Just giving it the time and attention it needs can be really hard. So hopefully these courses will help you with that. You can get in touch with me at any time on jan@janfortune.com. And just a little bit of welcome and housekeeping to make things run smoothly during the webinar. If you mute your sound on the Zoom app and during feedback, you'll be able to use the chat symbol. A little bit about what I do. I run a small independent press called Cinnamon Press, and I've run that for 13 years. So I've edited hundreds of books. I'm also, as I said, a writer. I write novels and poetry and articles. And usually the only way I can do that is to block some time out and go somewhere completely different. I also teach writing courses across Europe. I've taught in France and Spain and America, and done book launches in France and Budapest. And I love teaching. I blog about the writing process, the writing life, and creative journaling. And I know how hard it can be to fit it all in. So hopefully with these courses, we can do some of that, not getting quartz into pint pots, but actually deciding what really belongs in the pot anyway. A great deal of the way that I manage my own writing practice is to spur it on with creative journaling, and I've been journaling all my life. It's not just a record or a to-do list or a goal setting or a bullet journal. I find it a really powerful and motivating tool. It's the place where I can thought dump and reflect and marshal ideas. So if you want to inspire your writing ideas and push and hone your craft and really push beyond your boundaries, and if you're looking for help to dive deeply into your writing process and flow and to enable you to become the writer you want to be, these are the kinds of courses that will help to give you that motivation and inspiration. I want to share with you in this series of online mini retreats, and it's a very small investment for growing marvelous and larger results. So today, after this webinar, what I'd like you to leave with is the determination to take the slow time needed for deep thinking, creativity, and recalibrating your writing quests as the seasons turn. And I think that emphasis there on slow time is really important. Increasingly, we're realizing that the pace of the world is becoming not just frenetic, but insane. And if we don't slow down and give time to the essentials and to the important things, we never get that time back. So let's grab it back with all our might and write. So this workshop is for anyone who wants to nourish a creative core and feel anchored in their writing. I think it's really important to feel that you have a ground, and the journal is a really good ground from which other projects can flourish. It's for anyone interested in journaling to connect with seasonal rhythm and flow in their writing. And I'll say a little bit more about how the seasons really are very important, even in a technological age, even in an age where we live so much more indoors. We're still affected. We are still creaturely. And it's for anyone who wants to expand the boundaries of their creativity. The workshop will enable you to connect your writing to the story you want to become, to your own story and to your environment. It will give your writing the power and time it needs in your life, and it will dive deeply into your creativity. At the end of the workshop, I'll be offering a discount on the full suite of diving deeply into your story. So if you'd like to avail yourself of those mini courses, make sure you stay to the end. What we'll be covering is making connections through your writing. We are all integrally connected. We're connected to each other, we're connected to the planet, we're connected to the environment, part of this web of very lively and life-giving connections. And it's really important to use those connections and make them work for your writing. We'll be covering moving from regret to power. This is really, really essential. So often we make goals and then 6 months later we look back and we wonder where the time went and where is that writing that we promised ourselves we'd do. So what I'd like us to do is to break out of that circle of regret and give the writing the power it needs. And that's connected to planting your creative year. When you have a plan and an overall focus and a structure that's going to support you, and you plant those seeds and you nurture them, then your year will get so much more creative. So first of all, making connections through your writing. How do seasonal mini retreats help you connect? We're all deeply connected to environment. I don't know about you, I'm very affected by light. I like to hibernate in the winter. I like to be out in the sun in the summer. Light and weather affect us all differently, but we are all affected. Stress and calm, things that are going on in our lives naturally have an impact on us. So the environment that we're in, the kinds of people that we have to deal with or that we live with, the interactions with others, if we're surrounded by people who are creative and inspiring and encouraging, it's very different than being surrounded by people who are naysaying and bringing us down and miserable and certain that nothing is ever going to work. And we're just affected by all the tiny little pattern of life, the sights, the smells, the sounds, everything we interact with. Connection, in fact, is what the best writing is about. The most powerful writing has that web of connectivity built into it. So it's part of our lives and it's part of our writing. Taking notice of the seasonal flow of our writing then will make a difference. So I'd like you to take a few moments with a bit of paper and think about the ways in which your writing responds to the seasons. And don't worry if you only make a few moments of this workshop and go over this again. Here's a quote from Marcel Proust to inspire. A change in the absolutely true. The seasons impact on all of us, even in this technological world. The light changes, the temperature shifts, how we relate to the world has seasonal rhythms. So just take a few moments and think about the ways in which your writing responds to the seasons. You can stop this workshop on pause and do a bit of writing, or you can write that down and come back to it later. Moving from regret to power. How do you give your writing power? There's a bit of a shout out for Roberta here. This is a picture I took leaving her home city of Venice, and she joined us for the webinar this evening from Venice. Here's a quote from Mary Oliver, very powerful, and sadly Mary Oliver died last Thursday on January the 17th. I have to say, although that's incredibly sad, I cannot imagine that she left this world as one of these people. The most regretful people on earth are those who felt the call to creative work, who felt their own creative power, restive and uprising, and gave it neither power nor. That really is sad. None of us want to be those regretful people. None of us want to feel this incredible upswell of creativity and then let it dwindle. So we need to give it power and time. That word power is a tricky one. Often when we think of power, we think of military, of patriarchy, of bombardment, of making things happen, of force. But that doesn't have to be what power means. For me, wherever there's awe, a night sky, love, or beauty, we're in the presence of power. So again, take a few moments and think about how you understand power and in what ways you give your writing power. Again, you can pause the slides or you can come back to this later, but take a few minutes and just think deeply about what power means and how you give it to your writing. And then when we've done that, we need to plant your creative year. What new shoots are there in your writing and in your life? And how will you protect and nurture them? Shoots are incredibly fragile. I don't know about you, but when I've got a new writing project, it always feels slightly vulnerable. It's almost like waking from a dream and wanting to recall it and knowing that if you just move your head in the wrong direction, you'll somehow shake it loose and it will evaporate. New writing projects can be just as vulnerable. We have to really tend to them. We have to give them lots of nurture. We have to plant them in good soil. We have to protect them and warm them and grow them. When you take time to reflect deeply, you give your writing that kind of nourishment and power. And then your writing becomes much more confident and connected. You have more insight into and compassion for the world you inhabit, and that strengthens your writing. So instead of being in a vicious circle that's going down and down and down, you find yourself in this beautiful, virtuous cycle in which your confidence raises. Therefore, you can take a breath and be more compassionate, more generous, witness to what's going on in the world, strengthen your writing, and so it builds. Deep reflection, time, and the right kind of power. Think about this. Creative flow is like a shy creature. Probably many of you will have read Antoine de Saint-Exupéry's The Little Prince. And at one point, the prince lands on a planet where there's a fox and he wants to play with and he wants to be friends with the fox. And the fox says, "No, you haven't tamed me." And by taming, that fox certainly doesn't mean any kind of subjugation. That fox wants to be impressed that the prince will take his time, wait patiently, go through the due ceremony of getting to know him. The fox wants to know that the prince is serious and reliable about being his friend. And once that trust is established, then they have the most amazing relationship, which is playful and imaginative. If you haven't read The Little Prince, grab yourself a copy. It is absolutely amazing. It's a tiny little children's book, taking no time to read, but the metaphors of it are absolutely stunning. And writing is just like that fox. It's shy, and you can't just grab it by the throat and make it do as you want. It has its own sweet time, and we have to show it due ceremony. And then we get to be playful and imaginative. We move from regret to power. The impulse of life is irresistibly urgent, but it can take a very long time to germinate. And I am not one of the most patient people in the world. So this is something that I have to remind myself constantly, to keep focus on your writing and keep it growing. You have to give it power and time. And that's what these seasonal mini retreats will give you the space to do. Journaling through the seasons with the help of short, intense periods of input is a powerful way to create the writer you want to become. And it's quite important that these are tiny little courses. So there's 3 or 4 days, every 6 to 8 weeks, and they will just give you that big shot of motivation and inspiration. And then finally, at the end of the year, there's a longer course of 5 weeks that goes through Advent, that goes through the time of the year when everybody's crying for our time. So we really need to take lots of it back. Giving our writing time demands a whole new way of seeing time itself. It's a mindset for being in time and wholehearted embodying of attentiveness. Get out of doors with a notebook. Find a place where you can pay attention, where you can see through the heavenly visibles to the heavenly invisibles. That's another quote from Mary Oliver. And write. Another short journal exercise, one that you definitely need to put on pause here. The notes are your seeds, and throughout the courses, you will get seed notes that will become part of the amazing projects that you're going to write. I believe that the writing life demands real congruence between who we are, the kind of values we adhere to how we behave in the world. It demands that your desires, belief in what can happen, and self-confidence are all in alignment. You'll find that when those things are shaky, when your belief in yourself, or when you're not that sure whether you really want to write or not, when you're not really sure why you're writing, it's not going to happen. You have to get it starts to amaze you. So, what story, whether it's prose, poetry, non-fiction, do you want to be? Do you want to write? When you know what you want to write, think about who will you have to be to write that story? That's a massive question, but it's one that's worth returning to again and again. Remember, this workshop is about committing to taking slow time needed for deep thinking, creativity, recalibrating your writing quests as the seasons turn. And there's 8 courses that run through the year. I won't go through this verbatim, but this will give you an idea of the quarter days and cross days and as they'll turn up. So it starts at the end of next week with writing the Green Blade. In the Celtic calendar, the beginning of February was a liminal transitional point. It's new starts, it's the beginning of spring, and it's fantastically hopeful, I think, to start thinking about spring at the beginning of February, when there doesn't look like there might be much spring around, but there's just these few tiny little snowdrops bravely poking their way through the hard earth and really saying, yep, it's going to happen again. And then we'll move to spring equinox through May Day, summer solstice, the early harvest, autumn equinox, and then back into the darker time of the year at the end of October, and finally the winter festivals in December. To sum up, it's vital to connect your writing and your story to your environment, to give your writing the power and time it needs in your life, and to dive deeply into your creativity. Small steps add up to big changes. So often when we try to do a million things all at once, we trip ourselves up and end up doing nothing. But small steps add up, and they really do compound, and they really do produce amazing results. So I'd like you to leave this with a plan. As soon as you log off, journal for at least 3 pages on the question, what new shoots are there in your writing and in your life, and how are you going to protect and nurture them? And then think about how you're going to break that down into a calendar. Put the steps in your calendar and make them happen. Make them sacrosanct. Once you know what those shoots are and how they need protecting and nurturing, then think, when am I going to do it? How am I going to do it? Where will I get the quiet? When will I get the quiet? When will I get the time from? What might I have to give up to give that time? Make it sacrosanct. Nothing, barring life-threatening emergencies, should take away from that. Regular dates through the year, reflect and stay focused. So I hope you'll take away practical ideas for regular journaling to connect your writing with the seasons. And As I said, I'm just launching the online course, Diving Deeply into Your Story. It's a series of mini courses. They fall on the quarter days and cross days through the year, and they're designed to bolster your motivation and help you reflect deeply on the story you want to write and the story you want to live and become. 7 of them are short, 3 to 4 days, and then culminating in a 5-week course in January. And I have a special offer for you. If you're somebody who wants your writing practice to be deeply connected to the world you inhabit, and you're ready to give your writing power and time and commitment, and you do want to dive deeper into your writing process and flow, then you are going to benefit from regular, intense input. It won't take up too much of your time. It'll be about enabling your writing projects, and it will add inspiration. If you've read books like Julia Cameron's The Artist's Way, or Judy Reeves' Writer's Book of Days, or Anne Lamott's Bird by Bird, or Natalie Goldberg's Writing Down the Bones, it's that kind of area, and you'll get a great deal out of the courses. One of the courses, Finding the Still Point of Your Story, I launched in Advent last year, and nearly 300 people joined that in December, and the feedback was humbling and stunning and fantastic on nearly a daily basis. People really took to it and they made it their own. They really got into that material. They did dive deeply. I want to extend those results to lots more people. And if you have already done the December course, you'll be able to add on the 7 short courses for a different special price, and I'll get in touch with you after this workshop. So I'm offering the course for only $69 next week. $50, and PayPal will do the currency conversions. It's less than half price for the next 6 days. You can get Diving Deeply into Your Story on my website, and I'll send a link out to everyone on my email list. All you need to do is add the discount code DS at checkout for the full 8 courses, and each one will magically be delivered through the year. If you already have Finding the Still Point, as I said, I'll send you a separate discount code so that you can get those as an add-on at a really special price. Don't forget, you can sign up for less than half price. So next 6 days, it's only $69 with the discount code DDYS. And if you have Finding the Still Point, I'll send you a separate discount code. So if you give me a moment to do that, and if you need to contact me at any time, it's jan@janfortune.com. Thank you for attending. I'll email you soon with full details, and hope you'll sign up for this less than half price offer with the DDYS code at checkout. And a reminder, jan@janfortune.com. Thank you very much for being here, whether it's live or whether you're watching this on catch up. Thank you.